Early in my career, I designed a supervisor training course and wanted to base it on the skills and traits of high performers. So with my company's approval, I studied those who retained top performers and created the best results. I had some theories going in that these top leaders would be inspiring, charismatic, and super positive people. I was wrong. By the way, with those I studied, I didn't want to know who among those I studied were top performers and who weren't. I would first profile them, then later connect the dots so I wouldn't bias my insights. Since we're all leaders, regardless of whether formally or informally designated, we can learn how to influence more from these insights. What did I find? Here are 5 skills that separate average from top-performing frontline leaders. 1. They are cool when the heat is on. 2. They balance candor and caring. 3. They speak up when there is a problem. 4. They keep lines of communication open. 5. They know that the fortune is in the follow-through. Let's drill into each of these in a way that makes it actionable for you, whether you're a leader in your home, your business, or in another role, such as a spiritual community. Insight 1. Cool when the heat is on. When interviewing and watching my pool of supervisors, I noticed that some seemed rather matter-of-fact. Nothing seemed to rattle them. They weren't charismatic, but very even-keeled, those who I would later be the high performers. Students of emotional intelligence will recognize the power these leaders were showing in their semi-boring, even-keeled way. Yes, they were the coolest heads in the room when a problem was being solved, but I noticed how much trust they gained by being very matter-of-fact about the current reality. Because of their calm, their words were taken with greater weight, because they tended to operate with a focus on a valued result rather than from an emotional reaction. How can you develop this kind of calm in the storm? It starts with acknowledging your level of emotional intensity. Unacknowledged emotions tend to come back stronger, while awareness itself has been shown to reduce an emotion. Then focus on the outcome. If you watch the movie Apollo 13, nothing productive came out of reacting from emotion, while progress came when they were clear about reality and the valued outcome. It's the same for you. When you stay focused on the valued outcome, you get a lot more done. Let's drill into the next insight: candor and caring. There's a kind of candor that comes across as abusive. It's harsh because it lacks empathy and caring. You might have noticed that verbally abusive people justify their actions by saying, "Well, I'm just being honest." Maybe, but candor without caring isn't effective. Leaders who care but don't speak candidly lose influence because they walk on eggshells. That doesn't work, and you'll develop health problems because you're not sharing your truth. I coached a supervisor who couldn't keep good people because of her candid yet abusive style. My intervention with her was simple: keep your candor, but add to it empathy towards a valued outcome. In other words, keep your candor, but use it more wisely to help the person rather than punish and to create a valued result. As we reviewed key situations where she used to launch her candor bombs, I asked, "What's your outcome? How can you adjust your candor to help the person learn?" She began experimenting with adjustments that reflected more the valued outcome and caring about the person. And it worked, just as it will for you when you pair candor with caring. Let's drill into the next insight. Insight 3, speak up when there is a problem. Lower performing supervisors tended to stew about problems with team members. Rather than having a conversation to clarify, they would avoid the conversation. For the top performers, it was unimaginable to stay silent when there was a problem, breakdown, or situation that didn't look right. It was no big deal to speak up with curiosity. I noticed this. Help me understand what's going on. The lower performers eventually spoke up, but also tended to overreact because the situation had grown in their minds. When you notice a problem breakdown, missed expectation, or similar situation, speak up with curiosity. I've lost track of how often my suspicions were completely wrong when I approached the situation, wanting to understand. And yes, sometimes the situation is worse than you thought, but at least you know what you're dealing with. That leads us to insight number 4, which is to keep lines of communication open. Hostage negotiators know that they can't influence an outcome where they lack a line of communication. The same is true for any leader, formal or informal, to influence others. The top leaders communicated more often and more effectively than their lower-performing counterparts. They found ways to open lines of communication, such as brief but frequent check-ins, email exchanges on project status, or focused team meetings. Top leaders also cut out or cut down communications that produce noise rather than clarity. Calm, candid, and caring leaders keep communication lines open and examine what is working and what isn't. When coaching leaders on lines of communication, awareness normally leads to adjustments that work. When you're mindful of the need for open, effective lines of communication, you move in a direction that builds trust, improves candor, and leads to the final insight of top performers: follow-up. In the sales world, you often hear that the fortune is in the follow-up. The same is true for leaders at all levels. When you have commitment or accountability conversations, they must be followed by follow-up conversations, or you miss out on learning and adjustment and might send the signal of low accountability. When you follow up in a consistent way, you communicate a form of healthy accountability. Healthy accountability is nothing more or less than determining what happened with a commitment and how to adjust to achieve the desired result. Unhealthy accountability occurs when we seek to punish based on partial information or allow problems to continue without any intervention to correct them. Top performers plan for follow-up. As simple as this sounds, they create lists for team members of things to discuss in meetings or one-on-ones. Top performers realize that follow-up matters, and they make it a priority. Average performers are inconsistent with follow-up. Don't beat yourself up if you fall into the low or inconsistent follow-up category. Just adjust. Make it a priority, and with yourself, follow up on how you're doing with follow-up. Okay, my friends. These 5 insights about top-performing leaders can unleash your influence whether you are a formal or informal leader in a business or other community. Thanks for joining us today at the Change Capability Institute, where we make personal development a reality.